then I'd have to learn all this stuff. I'd have to re-educate myself, and then it would just be an overflow of all these colors and stuff. And
why bother?
exactly,
Yeah.
and this is when I was 18, 19 years old, and I was thinking to myself, I've spent 18, 19 years learning how to be blind.
Mm-hmm.
And I've gotten so far. Why would I want to go back? And there's some blind people. There are two types of blind people. They're the go-getters, and they're the gimmies.
Mm-hmm.
And the go-getters are more likely, if they're my age or older, are more likely to stay blind, or want to stay blind if they have the choice, because we've learned, we've adapted, we have risen, we are the cream of this year's crop, and why would we want to change what we've already learned?
But as a blind individual, you're taught to know that you have to run twice to get somewhere once. And what better to accomplish something but having something in the way on your way there. And there's nothing like doing something despite, all the barriers in the way, everything standing before you. Because at the end of the day, you know that despite vision, I did that, and hopefully it will give people the inspiration to say, he did it, so can I.
One thing that we have to overcome is that we are almost always going to get overlooked for jobs, and it's just a possibility. If a blind person and a sighted person are applying for the same job, and they both have the same credentials, have the same extracurriculars, the same everything, most likely that sighted person is going to get hired. So I've learned from an early age that I have to bust my butt twice as harder than the sighted people that I'm competing against for these jobs. I've been competing against for these internships and these scholarships, because there's no handouts. There are few, but if you want to get somewhere in life, you have to earn it. And I've been taught, and I've learned that for someone like me, I have to work twice as hard. Stefan and I both have very strong work ethics because of our visual impairments, and some blind people don't have that. They
withdraw into themselves.
Their parents coddled them since they were little, got them everything they wanted because of it, and so that's all they know. It's not their fault. And so that way, once they're adults and in the real world, they can't do anything. And I'm so glad that didn't happen to me. I'm so glad that I didn't have to go through that, because if I was, I wouldn't be in a university. I would be on my parents' couch doing nothing right now.
What has helped me the most is that I started off in my life as being a sighted individual. And when I lost my vision, I can't say that it wasn't hard, because it was. But I still have that in me, that desire to push on. My parents always told me that there's going to be adversity, there's going to be tribulations, but unless I really want it, it's not going to happen. I see myself as having a heart that's a furnace. Despite the rains that come with life, I refuse to be allayed by it, because I see myself, my determination as a beacon leading me towards in a dark and uncertain future. The stars are at my fingertips, the clouds are at my feet,
Some people have actually told me once I said that I've been blind since birth, they say, "Oh man, that sucks, because they say I would rather be sighted and then lose my sight later in life." And I was like, "No, you don't. No, you don't." I was like, "It is much better being blind."
It's kind of hard to miss what you never had.
Exactly. It is hard to miss what you've never had.
Has a space of positiveness formed as a result of the two of you being blind? Do you feel that there's something good that you feel may have come as a result of you having lost your ability to
Yes.
see?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. It leads you down a road that you don't think you would have taken. If I was sighted, I would still be in Tuscaloosa. I don't know where I would be. I don't know what I would have done. But everything happens for a reason. Everything in life leads you to the next thing. And yes, it looked bad being born blind. Yes, it did, but it led me to Talladega. It eventually led me to JSU. And if I wasn't blind, it wouldn't have led me to my wife. I would have never have met her if I was sighted. So I always look at her and thank God that I'm blind, because if not, I would never have met her. I don't know. I've learned that with your blindness, you're able to appreciate people
Mm-hmm.
for who they are.
And in the first place, I was not born into what you would call a well-to-do family. And that was part of my inspiration to keep going, to try as hard as I can every day, day in and day out, because I wanted something better. Like, I was the first person in my family to graduate from high school. My parents, my mom has an 8th grade education. My father did not make it past the sophomore year of high school. And that's what kept me going. You know, I want them to know that, you know, early on, that their work wasn't in vain, that although they didn't graduate from high school, they always had this dream about me graduating and going off and being successful.
Has anybody ever tried to pull a prank on the two of you because they knew that you could not see?
No. I will say this. People at the blind school pulled a prank on me.
Mm-hmm.
We were actually at a wrestling tournament in Oklahoma. It was my freshman year of high school. And I was asleep. And when I was asleep, someone had put shaving cream on my hand and then tickled my nose with a feather. Well, when that happens, you're going to reach up to see what's tickling your nose. And I did, and I got shaving cream all over my face.
Well, it's all in fun in that situation.
Exactly.
Because we were all visually impaired.
Exactly. It wasn't a sighted person. Like, it wasn't someone who was, they actually did it to the entire floor. So, but
And,
no one has ever
yeah.
teased me specifically because I was blind. No.
I mean, back in that era when I was 7 growing up, of course, you know, kids will be kids, so nothing was held, you know, to heart, you know. That's just how kids are going to be. But one thing that I like to, you know, to instill into sighted people is that you have to be careful, like when let's say a blind person is walking and they're nearing a wall. You don't want to scream out, look out, because that doesn't tell them anything. That just distracts them, you know. Like, I recall a time when I was walking, walking on the quad, and someone screamed out of nowhere, "Look out, it's the trash can." And I thought, you know, it's like a deer in headlights. It only distracts me.
Because our cane's going to hit the trash can, so we know it's going to be there.
That's what it's designed for. It's designed to take the brunt of the impact. And everyone runs into things. Everyone is going to stumble.
But it's once someone says, look out, you're like, look out for what? And
I mean, you get distracted.
You might move your cane to where it's in the wrong place, and you run into it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Do people like Ray Charles, Stevie Wonder, as I mentioned earlier, and the Blind Boys of Alabama, do people like that inspire you?
To be honest, I didn't listen to Ray Charles or Stevie Wonder until I was a teenager. I wasn't inspired by them as much until I was a teenager. I just had the drive to do well for myself.
And I appreciate their work ethic.
I do too.
Yeah, I appreciate it, but it's typically not my music, not the kind of music that I listen to. Not that they weren't.
They were awesome musicians.
They were awesome musicians and very inspiring individuals, but I draw inspiration from, like, whenever somebody tells me I can't do something or whatever. Like, I was a wrestler in high school. I ran track, and that seems, unworldly to some people, a blind man running track. But there's a way around just about anything, except for driving, but really, there is a way around everything. And one thing I've always told myself, you can see, you can have perfect vision, but it means nothing if your imagination is out of focus.
Exactly.
You can have perfect vision, but it means nothing if your
imagination is out of focus.
Wow. Well, Mr. Stefan Middleton and Mr. Curtis S. Holman, both juniors here at Jacksonville State University, I thank you all so much for coming on to the show tonight and educating us on being blind in America. Thank you all so much. My listening audience out there all across the country, all across the United States and across the world, I thank you all so much for listening on what has been another episode of Late Night with Ed Moore III. It's always such a pleasure speaking on this microphone to you all every Friday night from 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. And you can tune into us, worldwide via the web at www.latenightwithedmore3.weebly.com. It's been such a pleasure being with you all here on this Friday evening. My name is Ed Moore III. We're signing out live to you from the Communications Building here on the campus of Jacksonville State University in Jacksonville, Alabama. Good night. God bless. Have a wonderful weekend, and we will see you next Friday.